What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the Panzer IV, also known as the SDKFC 161. When this tank was first set up in January 1934, alongside of the Panzer III, it was armed with a short 75mm howitzer, while the Panzer III was initially made with a 37mm anti-tank gun. I forget which gun it was exactly, but they were designed alongside each other, so they would like the Panzer III would deal with like tank targets, like the light BT5s and BT7s and T26s, and even the heavy tanks, like the T28s that the Soviets were armed with. This 25-ton tank was powered by a Maybach HL-120 TRM 12-cylinder, making 296 horsepower, which isn't very bad, comparing it to like 90s Honda Civics. Like I've seen a lot of those around, and personally I kind of like them. But I think those had like in the ballpark of like 100, so it is more than modern cars. The first few variants of the Panzer IV was only protected by 14.5mm of armor in the front, and even less on the sides and rear. Even by 1934 standards, 14.5mm of armor is not very good. But I mean, they didn't put that on like too many of them. I know that a lot of the pre-production variants were produced in very low numbers. I think there was only like 10 Panzer IVAs produced, other than prototypes. Were they prototypes? I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that wouldn't stop a Soviet 37, American 37. Might stop a few French guns, but not much other than that. And rifles and artillery shrapnel. Hello, this is editing IS2. There was 35 Panzer IVAs. Now that I go over to the Wikipedia page again, don't trust everything I say. Watch the rest of the video. Subscribe. You're awesome. The Panzer IV-B was not very different, but it introduced a new engine and transmission. It also mounted smoke launchers, or smoke dischargers, is what it said. Which I don't know if that is the smoke that like launches right into the ground behind it, or it is actual smoke launchers that like fire a little smoke grenade out in front of the tank, like I know a lot of later German tanks had. But overall, 42 Panzer IV-Bs were made. The Panzer IV-C was built in 1938 and 1939. There was 134 built. The timer on it was up to 30mm. No clue why. I guess they just felt like building something different, changing it up after a year. But yeah, they had basically the only upgrade was like the turret armor. There wasn't much different from the B. And like I said, I don't know why they built something different. The Panzer IV-D variant had 248 built and increased the turret armor to 35mm with a side armor of 25mm. I also saw that it like introduced the whole machine gun again. I don't know when that was taken out, but in the footage right now you can see that there's no whole machine gun. So I guess these were early Panzer IVs. But they also tested a 50mm after dealing with the Matildas and the Charby 2 bisses. Sorry. Obviously, this 50mm Panzer IV never made it into production, and instead they took the Panzer III and put the 50mm into it. So, thought I'd add that part. The Panzer IV-E added the 30mm add-on plate of armor to the front of the tank, along with a new driver's visor, like the little slit that the driver could see through. That was adopted off the Stug 3 self-propelled gun, later a tank destroyer. I'll make a video on it eventually. There was also a turret cupola taken off the Panzer IIIG. Yes. This was also the last like small number production, sort of limited production run Panzer IV with the Panzer IV Panzer IV F1. Sorry, coming up next. Originally Panzer IV-F. The Panzer IV-F, also known as F1, increased the front armor to a 50 millimeter standard plate, I guess. It also upped the side armor to 30 millimeters and widened the tracks. This was the last Panzer IV that was made before the long-barreled Panzer IVs. Next up will be the Panzer IV F2, which was the first one that had the long 75, like you can see on this Panzer IV-H right here in the video. The F2 was, the Panzer IV F2, it was a temporary designation for the Panzer IV-Fs that received the long 75, long 75. The long 75 was based off of the Pak 40. It's a tank gun that was widely used around Operation Barbarossa. The long-barreled Panzer IV was used throughout the rest of the war, up until 1945, and even after, which I will get into later. The Panzer IV F2 was later renamed as the Panzer IV-G. The Panzer IV-G was pretty much like a late production version of the Panzer IV F2, because it added on a 80 millimeter front plate. The Panzer IV-H standardized the 80 millimeter total front plate. It also added on a little bit of turret armor to prevent strafing attacks from penetrating and killing the turret crew. It added Scherzen, the armored plates that go on the side. I'll probably put up a picture right about now. It also eliminated the outer vision port that was on either side of the tank, because, well, obviously it would have been blocked by the Scherzen. And it also added Zimmermann to, I think, the front of the tank. I don't know if they put it on the side of the Scherzen. The Panzer IV-J, it was the last variant. It was a very late war variant. It was them trying to simplify the design by taking off the flat or actual metal plate Scherzen, and they replaced it with mesh screen. I think this is a Panzer IV-J right here, but it kept the flat metal plate around the outside of the turret, and it also changed up the exhaust. These are not Panzer IV-Js. These are Panzer IV-Hs without the side skirts, I'm pretty sure. You can tell by the exhaust. Overall, the Panzer IV was one of the best tanks of the war. It served from the start of the war to the end of the war. Before the start of the war, 1934 was when it was first made up, I guess. But it performed very well. And Poland, sorry about the popping. I tried not to make it pop right there. But it performed well throughout the entire war. It did well in France. It did struggle against the Matilda II and the Char B1 Bis heavy tank. Also, earlier I said Char 2B Bis or whatever I said. It's obviously Char B1. Char 2C was a big boy. But yeah, after it also did very well in North Africa, especially once it got the longer gun. But it also performed very well in the Soviet Union, but it obviously struggled against T-34s and KV-1s, so that's why I got the long 75. This next part is from one of the members of the IS-2 Discord. This isn't from the guy. It's from one of his Syrian friends, I'm pretty sure. The Syrian friend was ZNZ. He has his own Discord, which will be linked next to our Discord link in the description. But here's what, a really good summary of the Syrian service of Panzer IVs. The number of Panzer IVs from France is uncertain. One source lists 40 being delivered, while others states the 40 vehicle total Syria got from France was a combination of all German types, including Panzer IVs, and a number of ex-French Panzer IVs was only 11 or even less. One source says only 5. Yet another source says that indeed 40 were delivered, but by the time Syria's second round of World War II German weapons were imported, later in the 1950s, only a handful of French-delivered Panzer IVs remained functional. After the Israeli War of Independence in 1948, the French attempted to retain allies in both. In the end, the balance between the two would be a weapon sale to Syria, giving them more Panzer IVs. I'm going to skip around on this some because I don't want to have this video be like 20 minutes long. So, the Panzer IVs that operated in Syria were late Panzer IV versions, most likely Panzer IVHs and Panzer IVJs. They could penetrate the M4 Sherman's armor, which is what Israel had a lot of with their Super Shermans and just regular Shermans. I know that some of the only modifications that they gave to these Panzer IVs was added a Soviet 12.7 millimeter Dishka to the top of it. I'll put a picture in now. I'll put a few pictures up. And some of them were like mixes between different types of Panzer IVs and stuff. Some of them were a little bit rough. Also it says that Syria got 60 Panzer IVs from Syria, not Syria. They got 60 Panzer IVs from Czechoslovakia, so that's kind of interesting. But these were used in the Yom Kippur War and the 6-Day War. A lot of these were knocked out. I think Israel like captured a few, and if I'm correct by saying that, I'll put up a picture right now. But other than that, this is the end of the video. Thanks for watching. The channel has been doing pretty well. The last 2 videos got like around 500 views. But if you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, and leave a comment, join the Discord. Thanks for watching.